All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Yeah.
What is going on, everybody? Oh, God, I did it again. What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and you are listening to Sky Town, an everything Chicago Sky-related podcast brought to you by Free BG. We are going to be screaming that all season long. Obviously, I had it extended, and that was an accident, but honestly, it wasn't, and we're going to roll with it because it's Free BG till the day she's freed. So, it's a conversation right now that, we aren't going to put aside just because the playoffs are here. We're always going to continue talking about that, and we're going to have amazing conversations on tomorrow's live stream, or if you're listening to today's live stream, it's currently 1:38 a.m. Central Time. I'm doing a bunch of late work tonight. But if you're listening to this on the All Sports, All Plays Network, if you're listening to this on Skytown on YouTube or on Mike on the Mic or on Facebook, whatever it may be, I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate all the love and support. Tonight we're repping the CP3 jersey, 110%. Gotta rep it because I got some shit to talk. And Candace won't say it, so I'm going to say it. I was listening. I was there in post media and in the conference and having these conversations with players. And we do have interviews tonight with Curt Miller and obviously James Wade. But, listening to Candace's interview questions baffled my mind. And before we get into why I'm upset about that, I do want to say shout out to Serena Williams beating the number 2 rated, I believe, tennis player in all of the world. I mean, what an amazing accomplishment for her at that age. Not only that age, just in general. Like, let's be real about the situation. Serena Williams has won a match to that magnitude in her teens, in her 20s, 30s, and now 40s. That is insane. So Venus and Serena, that story continues, and Serena is just writing a storybook that's never been written before. So shout out to her. But let's get into why I'm upset about that. I am upset because Candace Parker is also doing something, someone in their 30s typically wouldn't do. But for several questions to be about her age, it baffled my mind because here's the biggest thing. And what bothered me the most about it, and it's all love to Serena Williams. I got mad love for Serena Williams. But I feel like in that magnitude, in that conversation, if one person asks it, cool. If 2 people ask it, cool. It makes sense. Serena Williams just did her thing the same night Candace Parker won a semifinals game in the playoffs. So it definitely makes sense. But for several other people to go on and be talking about Serena Williams, which it's no disrespect to Serena Williams, but understand, to me, is we are in the WNBA playoffs. We are in the playoffs right now, and the Chicago Sky just took down a do or die must win situation because if they would have lost that game, they have to go to Connecticut twice. Being down 0-2. That was a huge game, and so many people just whiffed on questions. I'll tell you what, I didn't get a chance to ask her a question, and it's perfectly fine because I messed up. I wasn't able to go to the game. That's on me. I have to own that. But I'm definitely going to save it for next time I see Candace and I got to ask her. A question that I wanted to hear is, Candace Parker, and we do get into it with Coach James Wade, and we're going to bring that to you guys right now, as a matter of fact. But it's just super exciting to really just, from that understanding, hear it from his perspective on how Candace Parker operates and how she goes about her day-to-day basketball career. I mean, I remember, way past just the last year's championship. I think one of the biggest things to me is watching Candace do this in Tennessee, watching her do this. And I was a little kid when she was in Tennessee. And then, watching her do it with the LA Sparks and now doing it with the Chicago Sky. Candace even said in one of her interviews, in the championship in 2021, kind of having a conversation about, understanding that she she remembers the good, she remembers the bad, she remembers the ugly, she remembers every second of every single moment. And I think that's honestly where you can attribute her to who she is and why she's as good as she is. You know, a lot of players remember the highs, and I think that gets lost in translation at times. And what I mean by that is, you know, you'll remember all the highs, but then you'll forget why you worked so hard to get there. And it's because of all the lows. And Candace doesn't forget that. Candace remembers every single loss, every single game winner that went over her head, every single series that knocked her out of the playoffs. You know, she remembers it all. And I remember her, you know, specifically, it was her, Ka, Allie, and Sloot in the championship post game. And she attributed to a lot of her success to that. And I think that's huge, and I think that means a lot, not only for, you know, what she's trying to do and how she's trying to go about it, but, you know, exactly why she's able to do what she does. Now, let's read off her stats really quickly. If I'm not mistaken, we're looking at right now 22 points in 24 minutes, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 3 blocks. One sec, but that's all right. That's all right. But with that being said, you know, talking about not only her elevating her original game, which was in game one, obviously 18 points or 19 points and 18 rebounds, pardon me, 5 steals. Like she had an outstanding game to bounce back in game two, not only to pull off the win, but to have more points. I mean, she played an outstanding game, and to add 3 blocks to that, it was just an amazing performance. So here's what I was basically talking about Candace always remembering that. And here's our interview with James Wade, kind of just talking about that and what it's like coaching a player with such a Mamba mentality, if you will.
Question will go to Mike Hughes from ASAP. Mike, please unmute.
Hey, Coach. I remember last year during the championship post-game press conference, Candace kind of attributed a lot of her success and a lot of things that fuel her to remembering and envisioning every single, post-game bucket that sent her teams home and every single shot that went over her head. And last game, she stayed on the court afterwards. She stayed on the court and she kind of just watched the Connecticut Sun celebrate. So I was wondering if you could kind of just speak on what it's like to be able to not only coach her, but to coach an entire team that's willing to buy into that and really just stand up and fight back the next game.
We've been like pretty good all year. I think we only lost like 2 in a row in the 35th game of the season. That was the first time we lost 2 in a row. And so we've always had a fight back mentality, I think. And it starts with our leadership with Candace and Sloot and Kai and Allie, and the fact that they're very into detail oriented stuff. And they're very into being on the same page and the connectivity that it takes to actually build championship culture. They're all bought into that. And so to actually have them and actually have a player like Candace is special for me. It's fun because you get to win and people actually think you're a good coach. So it's cool, but yeah, I just take it as it is. And just accept it. I know if I was coaching my sister and my cousin and all that, wouldn't be no extensions. So I'm glad with the players that we have.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.
And I think that's one of those conversations that you really have is to not only has that affected Candace and James Wade's relationship in such a positive way to, really just give him that security of knowing like, hey, I don't need to talk to her. Like, I know she's straight. And not only is she going to be straight going into that game, she's going to be completely confident in her teammates as well, because her teammates buy into that. Ka is one of the most intelligent young players I have ever seen in this game. And obviously she's a North Philly girl. Anybody from Philly in general, I have the utmost respect for it, just like Chicago, just like New York. Even though I do trash New York a lot, but it's all respect. Detroit, stuff, places like that, like Compton, the list goes on. Hollywood, even LA, I don't even care where it is. The big cities, it really hardens a lot of people, and it makes or breaks you. And Kai has made so much success out of her story and so much what she does is attributed to that, and she loves every minute of it. And I think she's really willing to take that moment, and she's buying into everything. Obviously, like Candace said, she came here for Sloot, she came here for Allie and what they built in Chicago over the last 9+ years. Ka coming in and emerging into herself, Azurá Stevens being your sixth player of the year, but on any other team, Azurá Stevens is one of the best starters in this game, hands down. And to be so unselfish with what she does and to buy into that is so uncommon. You don't typically see stuff like that, and that's what makes a difference with a championship team. And I think that's something we're all starting to really look at Z and be like, you are going to be the face of this team, next to Ka. And that's really how it is. And I think that's super exciting for their futures. And I think, they're just, they're such sponges. They soak up every single moment. And I think, this is one of the best teams ever put together. I truly do believe that. I don't care what anybody says. It's a team to me to where, I really look at, where this team's going to be and how they could be, let's say 3 years from now, and what the team could look like. It's definitely going to be different. And it's definitely not going to be the same exact roster. Because, a lot of people, like we talked about, are aging. But that has nothing to do with right now. But I do think, it's going to be super exciting to continue to see them just do their thing and really just everybody allowing themselves to just be free. Now, before we get into the box score, before we get into anything, we do have an interview with head coach of the Connecticut Sun, Curt Miller, an amazing guy, an amazing individual. I'm super excited that we got to sit down and talk with him. I didn't get a chance to talk to Sandy last round. I kind of did, she was there. But we didn't have a one-on-one question with her. So here's our interview with Curt. What a great guy, man.
Hey, Coach. Well, tempers continue to rise on the court between players, and obviously these being two of the top defensive teams in the league. And, Azurá Stevens went on and she said this entire series that it's really going to come down to who wants it more. For you right now, how excited are you just to get back to Connecticut and just see what you guys can draw up on the board?
Yeah, excited to, be on our home court in the playoffs. We've been a really talented team through my tenure in Connecticut home. So I can't wait to get in front of our fan base. We've been on the road 11 straight days. So we feel like we've been in a bubble. So I love walking on the lakeshore, but if I don't have to for a few days, that would be really nice because we've been on the road for 11 straight days.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Mike.
I mean, even I get tired of it sometimes, but I'm just kidding. But he's right. He's right. And it's one of those conversations to where you haven't been home in 11 days, and you have a great crowd in Connecticut. I'll give them that. I'll always attribute that. I think the New York Liberty's fan base is really starting to emerge into what it is. The Seattle Storm emerge for what it is. The Chicago Sky, we roll deep. We already know how we run it. But the Connecticut Sun are right up there with the best of them as well. And I think, that's definitely something they're missing right now. And it's definitely a concern. It's definitely a concern. And it's, it's playoffs, baby. Like we're selling out. Everybody's selling out seats. So I think, it's definitely going to be a motivator for them to try to get better, to try to play better. And, like I said, tempers are rising. We saw Ka not getting rid of this loose ball, man. Ka was going to die with that basketball in her hand on the floor tonight or the other night. And it was great to see her with that tenacity, with that overall grit to this is mine. Like, this is my house. You're not going to do this to me here. And I think that's one of the greatest mentalities, we've seen from Ka so far this season. I mean, she's like, I saw this meme they made on the Chicago Sky's Instagram. If you haven't followed it already, it's hilarious. They were talking about WWE players, and Ka's like, I used to like The Undertaker. And then they show like a clip. You hear the bell goes boom, and then you see Ka standing up, after hitting the floor. And it's great, man. It's great to see. It's man, I hate saying this all the time because I just feel like, everybody's like, it's a normal answer and it's like a childish answer, but it's fun. This is fun. Everything we're doing is fun. This team is fun. It's not like, I feel like sometimes with championship teams, there's so much level of competition, not only throughout the team, but throughout the league, and that it doesn't become fun anymore. Like it's it's to the point to where, everybody's super serious, and it's not, the love of the game. It's literally just, it's a job. And when you can love your job, that to me is like, that's everything. And I feel like this entire team not only bought into themselves, but they bought into each other. And I know that sounds like the same thing, but it's not. The standard that Candace Parker, Allie Quigley, Courtney Vandersloot, Emma Mieseman, Coach James Wade, that they instill into all the other players, like Rebecca Gardner, like a Dana Evans, like a Kalia Copper, like a Azarae Stevens, the younger vets, you look at them like that and you understand, that's what you're buying into. But to buy into each other, to really support one another, that's a different level of respect. That's a different level that can win you a championship in 2021, even though you're only a 500 team. That to me is exactly why they won a championship last year. Is not because, they sit themselves to this standard, but that they have each other's backs. And that's really everything. But that's my TED Talk. So thank you guys for listening to that little spiel. I swear I should be in pregame speeches and just give speeches to everybody, because it's all I really do. But to get into the box score, let's get into it first. We're going to be talking about the Connecticut Sun. 29 minutes for Jones at center. 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 23 points. Bonner did not have a great night after talking all types of shit in game 1. 2 points, 3 assists, and 2 rebounds in 25 minutes. Thomas had 7, 4, and 10 and 31. Williams 6, 2, and 3 and 20. Heidman had 14, 3, and 1 and 27. Heidman's a dog. Heidman's an absolute beast. Sims had 7, 1, and 3 and 18. Carrington had 7, 1, and 2 and 18. Jones again had 7, 1, and 7 and 21. Holmes had 2, 0, and 3 and 6. And Clouden had 2, 1, and 1 and 6. Now we look at the Chicago Sky side of things. We talked about it the other night. It was the first time in quite some time that we didn't see multiple players in double figures. And that's exactly where this team came out. The very next night, Allie and Sloot both bounced back. Sloot had 10, 8, and 3 and 28. Allie had 13, 3, and 2 and 33. Allie was hitting some bangers. I mean, Allie was cracking them from 3. Emma Mieseman, who's let's talk about her stats first. 14, 3, and 7 and 32. Let's talk about Emma. It might not be on the box score, but Emma was everywhere. She was absolutely everywhere, and she opened the game with a 3, and I don't believe she made it, but if I'm not mistaken, double check me on that. But it's the fact that James Wade wants her to offensively be more on the attack, more herself, and she's really starting to buy into that, and I'm loving every single minute of it, because we know Emma can score. We know she's a hooper. She sacrificed a lot coming into this team, but it's definitely not the fact that she can't do it anymore. She's really killing it. She was amazing defensively. She was locked in. It was great. Ka 12, 0, and 4 and 29. Candace, obviously, like we said, 22, 4 and 4 and 24 with 1 steal and 3 blocks. Amazing game from her. And I believe a tech, but it's a conversation right now with Azarae Stevens, who had a bounce back game, 6, 1 and 4 and 23. Rebecca Gardner, 6, 1 and 3 and 17. Julie had 2, 2 and 2 and 12. Dana Evans had 1 minute, and Ruthie had 1 minute. Both had zeros across the board. It was an outstanding performance nonetheless, though. It was amazing, and I loved every single minute of it. It's going to be super exciting. Sunday night, 7 p.m. Central, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to have another game in Connecticut, and we're going to see what we can do for game 3. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be exciting. Z said it best. It's going to be who wants it more, and going 2 games in the Connecticut, we're going to see what the Sky are made of. And I think, if history is proven itself before, we're going to see an amazing series. But with that being said, before we get out of here, if you haven't already, give Sue Bird and Kelsey Plum some love. Brianna Stewart, Becky Hammond, everybody from top to bottom. Asia Wilson, Jackie Young, everybody. I mean, the Vegas-Seattle series is outstanding. I was just talking to my buddy. He's also, a reporter for the Chicago Sky, and Stephen Gardner. And, we're talking about it right now. And, going into Seattle for 2 games is going to be crazy. Series is tied 1-1 as well. Kelsey Plum went fucking bananas. She hit a huge dagger and then sealed the game for game 2. And then, you look at game 1 though, Sue Bird explodes, Brianna Stewart explodes, and they come out with that victory. Going 2 games into Seattle, I'm super excited to just see how, Tina Charles and company really get down. And could we potentially see Candace Parker versus Sue Bird in the finals? I would literally I would lose my mind. But hopefully we'll have Steven on here soon, and we'll be having more conversations about that. If you guys haven't already, please follow SkyTown on all social media platforms. You can go on Mike on the Mic YouTube right now. Go on the playlist SkyTown. You can find every single episode of every single post-game, pre-game press conference, every single interview we've had with Candace Parker, Allie, Sloot, and everybody else on the Chicago Sky. We have interviewed every single player this year. I think the only player we missed was Lee and Ruthie, if I'm not mistaken, but we're definitely going to try and get in with Ruthie at some point this season, and Lee, hopefully she can make a return at some point. But with that being said, if you haven't already, please give the All Sports All Plays Network some love. And I do have a special announcement. If you guys are willing to just stick with me just for a few minutes, it is currently Friday, September 2nd, 2022. I don't know why that was the hardest part for me to remember. But we are doing a all live stream tomorrow. Well, technically today on September 2nd. 12 p.m. Central Time is when we're going to kick it off. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have Chicago Cubs prospects, James Triantos, Liam Spence, Brennan Davis, Patrick Wisdom, and a lot of other individuals like Carolina Teague. She does amazing work for the Spurs Insider. Texas Radio. I mean, she kills it. And we're looking at Kevin Lapka from 670 to Score, Stephen Gardner from Nuts and Bolts. He does amazing work as well for the WNBA and the NBA. We have amazing people coming on this panel. We have amazing guests that we are going to have. We are doing a charity event for one of my favorite places that in Chicago. To me, man, it means everything. It means everything. And we're looking at right now, After School Matters. I was looking for the thing, it didn't come up. But After School Matters is one of the greatest programs in Chicago. I'm super excited to be a part of it. I'm super excited to kind of be there and just help raise money for this and help raise money for kids that, might not get the same opportunities as everybody else. So if you're going to be there, if you're available anytime tomorrow afternoon, definitely check in on Facebook at Mike Hughes or on the All Sports All Plays Network. We're going to be live streaming all day, raising money for an amazing cause. And I hope you guys are down with it. With that being said, this is Mike Hughes from Mike on the Mic. Peace.
All Sports All Plays. Yeah. All Sports All Plays. All Sports All Plays. 365, we making up plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All Sports All Plays.